Hello, Lightbox 2021. Welcome back to the Nomen stream. I am your host, the disembodied voice of Adam Hartel, speaking to the screen right now, and I am joined by some fantastic artists, some of who you can see right now. They're already starting to get busy on our canvas in Magma, and I'm really excited for what's going to be happening today. Just a few things to take care of off the top. Nomen is super happy to be partnering with Lightbox Expo by hosting today's drawing jam. We are working on creatures together in Magma Studio. And the reel we rolled at the beginning was just a little bit of an intro for those of you who are here about the Nomen School. We are training artists for careers in visual effects, games, and animation. And we love being a part of Lightbox Expo. If anyone viewing is in need of closed captioning today, you can head over to our live stream on the Facebook platform. Just look for Nomen, G-N-O-M-O-N on Facebook. You'll find our live stream there, and that will have closed captioning available for those of you who need it. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce our fantastic artists who are already feverishly working away on our jungle canvas. I'd like to start by introducing Bryn Matheny, who is a creature designer. And word on the street has it, Bryn, that you also were or are working on the new Ghostbusters film. Is that right?
Yes, I was on it in 2019 until 2020. So
awesome.
That is coming out later this year.
Very, very cool. Really happy to have you with us. And I got to say, after I saw the trailer for that film, I was like, this looks awesome.
I think it's like, going to be great.
Yeah, it's very multi-generational, which I think is super cool. All right, next up we have... let's see, I'm just trying to pick the proper order here in terms of what I've got on my page. Next, we have Jason Chan, who, yes, we have on the screen already. Hello, Jason. Welcome to the stream.
Hey,
thanks for being with us. Yeah. And Jason, I believe you work at Riot, and you're up in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. And then you're also a founding member of conceptart.org in addition, right?
I'm not a founding member. But, yeah.
Oh, just kind of one of the early members. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I got to get my fact checkers on that. Thank you. But thanks for joining us and jumping in on the fun today. We also have with us Wesley Burt, who is lower screen right now. And Wes, you were a part of Massive Black. You've been working in Marvel Entertainment in recent years. And you've also done, I think, a lot of illustration work too, if that's correct.
Yeah, that's really correct.
Yeah. Super cool. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. As I mentioned before we started the stream, I had the privilege of joining in on one of your workshops at Concept Design Academy in Pasadena and learned a ton. It was super fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have with us Walter Tulp, who was just with us on our previous stream, but is back again.
Yes.
To jump in on some creatures. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Thank you.
And we also have, let's see, I'm going to go down the order of my video windows here. We have a lot of artists with us today, which is super, super cool. We also have Steph Labris with us. Steph, do we have you on camera? Let me see if I can get you on camera. Hang on just a moment. You can say hello, though. We can definitely hear you.
Hello from the unseen.
All right, cool. There you are. I've got you up on the screen.
Hi.
Doing a little bit of musical chairs with the webcams. Now, Steph, you're doing a lot of work in illustration, correct?
I am. I'm illustrating children's books, and I'm also actually working in animation too. So I'm kind of splitting my time up 50-50 with that.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And let's see here. We also have with us Lynn Chen, who is on screen left. Hello, Lynn. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun. Hi,
definitely. And I think I don't know where you're currently residing right now, but Bob was telling me that I think you came from Shanghai to LA as you started to work.
Yes, I'm Chinese. And I came to the States probably from 2012, I think. I came here for school. And then I was working in video games remotely as a freelance artist. And then I was freelancing for a lot of animation studios in LA. So I'm both working both games and animation, a little bit both. But right now, currently, I'm with Moon Active, which is a game studio that's located in Israel. And I'm working with like I feel like really lucky. I'm working with a lot of amazing artists, like going to work every day. Just seeing all those updates just makes me feel like, wow, I can learn so much.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. And let's
Yeah.
see. I'm just making sure that we haven't had anybody who's tried to. Got a couple more people that might be joining us. Just checking through those who are trying to find their way in. And because I think I've introduced everyone. And if I haven't, it'll be super embarrassing. But I think we're good. I don't believe we have Sunmin in or Terrell Whitlatch with us yet, joining us in a bit. But yeah, right now we are all these artists are jamming on kind of this sort of a fairly neutral jungle background, and they've already gotten a great start into a lot of their creatures. And we are here to have fun. We're here to draw. And everybody who is in the chat, I'll be doing my best to monitor that while everybody's drawing today. So you got questions for our artists, comments, those kind of things. Feel free to interact in the chat, and I'll do my best to get to as many questions as I can. But in the meantime, let's have fun. All right, let's see here. Sorry, just experiencing a couple of technical glitches on my end, which don't seem to be affecting the stream. Here we go. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Just taking care of a couple of things here as we get started. There we go. All right, so we're already getting love for the goblin in the chat here. Well, Walter, I think that's you.
Okay.
Or I don't know. That's what they decided to call your creature, but
okay, cool.
I could be wrong.
Well, thank you. I'm learning this is a goblin now. That's cool.
I just got a note in the chat. I did introduce Walter, but Walter, someone's curious about you. You are currently in the Netherlands, right?
That's correct.
You are, in fact, we kind of talked about this the last stream. You are practically on the border between the Netherlands and Germany.
Yes.
And you've done a lot of extensive work, and I think you've done quite a bit of traditional and digital. You've done a lot of illustration, yeah?
Yes. And currently I'm mostly working as a character designer for feature animation.
Awesome.
Just finished working on a project for Netflix, and now moving on to Skydance.
Excellent. Let's see here. I'm just reaching out to a colleague of mine because I need him to join to admin the stream for a second so that I can restart my browser, just to make sure we don't have any issues. But any of you guys like to chime in and speak to the subject of, I mean, creature and character? They're both design, but there are also going to be some strong differences in terms of what you're paying attention to in terms of anatomy. Any of you guys like to share on the differences between, say, doing a character design and a creature design? Unless everybody's so engrossed in their artwork. 100% okay.
I guess I'll start. For me, I mostly do character design. Like I design animal characters that are existing species or, existed at one point. So I don't really have to get super scientific and really sort of break down, like, what planet is this animal from? What's the climate like? Biologically, how would they get around? That sort of thing. So for me, it's more aesthetic. Like I have to, like if I'm designing a horse character for like an animated series, and usually the series that I work on are for like preschoolers and really young kids. Those tend to be like very shape driven sorts of designs because we tend to use, big friendly designs for kids and things like that. So like if I'm designing a horse, I have to look at one and be like, okay, how can I take this anatomy that makes this horse a horse and, make it, curvy or appealing or colorful or whatever I need to do without breaking the horse, because there's only so much wiggle room you have with an animal before it stops being what that animal is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true because my work is more stylized as well because I feel like character design, it's very important to see like, okay, we understand the anatomy and then how can we simplify it and push and exaggerate it without breaking the form. I think that's like character design, it's a lot more about like pushing the forms and really show who the character is, show the personality, versus creature design. I think it's a lot more, it's like about like how to make this design make sense in a imaginative way. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. And sorry to interrupt, guys. Apologies. I'm glad to see that the stream remained intact, but I had to leave for a moment because of some technical issues. I'm just going to get my screen for Magma reshared here in just a second. And we have also just been joined by the incomparable Terrell Whitlatch, who has just come into the stream with us now.
Hi.
And hi, welcome. So good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Sorry I'm late.
No worries.
Hi, Terry.
Hi
Okay,
there.
good. Well, I think all the technical things I was facing on my end are ironed out. We've got our canvas back up. But Terrell, I mean, I think anyone who's into creature design is aware of a lot of the fantastic designs that you've done. You've done a lot of educational content. You've done books. And I even got to see a really awesome Gnomon workshop that you did back in the day at Gnomon. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. I'm very happy to be invited.
So yeah, we got a little bit of a interactive kind of canvas environment up and running, and everybody's just sort of picking a branch or a corner of our little world here and jumping in and starting to work on some some creatures.
Okay.
Oh, and I need to share the Magma link with you.
Yeah.
You were very graciously like waiting, like, is he going to share it? Hang on just a second. Let me get that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And it will be coming into the private chat in the interface here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
We'll get you in and it'll give you a layer and you're good to go.
okay, I'm loading. Okay. Let's see. It's asking me to sign in.
Oh yeah, there should either be an option just to kind of join as a guest, or if you recognize, like, say, Google or something like that, if you want to log in with your Google credentials, it can get you in that way as well. Yeah.
I will do that. I just updated my, oops, can't do that. Let's see. Oh wait, I can do this. Hold on a second.
No problem. And anybody watching that's wondering what we are using to get all these artists drawing together, we are using Magma Studio. And this is an awesome cloud-based collaborative drawing painting app, kind of like a Photoshop Lite, if I can say it that way. That is actually available online for free. So if you've never used Magma, you can head over to magmastudio.io and click try for free. It'll start up a canvas. And just like I'm doing with these artists and have just shared with Terrell, you can share the URL for that canvas with a friend and several other friends, and they can all join you in the same spot, and you guys can paint together. So it's really an incredible tool that I think was developed for Lightbox last year to get us up and running. All right. Were you able to find your way in, Terrell?
I'm trying a different option, so momentarily, hopefully. Aha.
I
think-
see you have an icon up at the top right now.
Right. Let me just go ahead and move this window over to the larger monitor.
Sure thing.
So. Okay, so there I am, I guess. Okay.
And if the browser window that you're using to look at Magma with is not full screen, it definitely helps to make it full screen. Because sometimes, depending on the size of your monitor, if it's not full screen, it might like crop out some of the tools and things like that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and. Well, I'm not sure how to get full screen. I know how to do it in Photoshop, but that option I use in Photoshop to get it full screen isn't working here.
Oh, okay. Are you on a Mac or Windows?
I have Mac.
Okay, so Mac, I think there should be something in the upper right-hand corner of the specific window that you have open that might look like 2 arrows pointing towards the corners. And if you click on that, it should like maximize it.
Sometimes it's more like at the bottom.
Oh, I see.
Let's try that. Aha, here we go. I actually have to drag it. That's about as far as I can get. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Oops. All right. Let me choose something here. Okay. All right. Let's see.
All right. Man, you guys are fast. We're 30 minutes in and we've got some pretty much fully realized creatures going on. Yeah, I used to run a meetup of artists in Pasadena, and we had a really fun thing that we did for kind of stretching our creature design muscles, and we would do a game called Food Chain, where everybody would start out with a simple creature that was supposed to be at the bottom of the food chain, and then all the artists would pick one of those, and then everybody would have to do another creature that could be a predator of that creature, and then it would slowly build up, like with each iteration, and finally people are trying to come up with things that can take down an apex predator, and depending on those designs, you have to solve problems, and it was really fun.
Just draw a COVID virus.
Oh my goodness. I think we have one other artist that may or may not be on their way, so I'm just going to keep vigilant for that, but I'm going to head over to our chat and take a look at what's happening there. So anybody who's in the chat, please do feel free to type questions in for our artists. Anything you'd like to know about with regards to what they do, with regards to creature design. But I think I'll throw out a question right now for anybody that'd like to chime in. I know that for some artists, it's harder to talk and draw than it is for others. So everybody just be comfortable. But I was wondering, one of the things that I learned from you, Terrell, was, just looking around nature, there is an infinite supply of inspiration to find.
Yes.
Because scientists are still discovering new life forms on our planet. There's always something new to look at. But I know that talking with other working artists, we kind of discover new creatures or references along the way. And, I was curious to know if any of you can remember one of your more recent inspirations that was really fun for you to pull from nature for a design that you're working on.
That's a hard question because there's so much to choose.
And we're rarely looking at just one thing at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, there was a season of time where I kind of went into the whole microscopic world. and started looking at like electron microscope reference images and just all the things that you can't see with your eyes, all the little creatures that are out there. And nature has so many interesting things that it does. Let's see.
I have a couple animals, I guess, that I've been enamored with. The blue-tongued skink.
Oh yeah.
One. Little like chubby lizard that uses its bright blue tongue to scare off enemies or predators. I also have been looking at earwig wings. They're really beautiful. I feel like earwigs are one of those animals that gets kind of pushed to the side as something that's very not fun to
earwigs?
see. Yes, I did. Yeah.
I cringed a little bit. I'm sorry. I think like I got this app called Picture Insect. I think it's really fun. Like when you find a new like spider or insect, it just like take a picture and see exactly what kind of animal, what kind of insect that is. But still, like
so cool.
earwigs, we have earwigs at home sometimes, occasionally, like big ones. It still jumps me every time I see it. Ah.
Oh yeah, they're not like they're very creepy. Yeah. That's awesome. I'll have to download that app. And then those are my two that I've been looking at.
I like the sloth with the birthday cake. It's like an instant story there.
That was my warm up. He's not so much a creature as a mood.
I wasn't looking at creatures or animals that much for a project I worked on recently, but I was looking at children's drawings, and I thought it was very cool that when I found that I came to a point in my career where I was working for Netflix, and I spent a couple of days doing drawings that looked as if I was a 3-year-old.
Oh, fun.
That was kind of cool. But it was really nice because it led to some very interesting, unusual shapes that I might not have discovered just going, starting with trying to make sense of it. I started with the asymmetry and the logic of children's drawings. That was actually really cool.
Wow.
That must have been challenging because, like, it's almost like you have to sort of unlearn a lot of your habits you've picked up as, a quote, good artist. Like, you have to sort of retrain. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like turning off your mind.
Right.
Yeah. I remember there's a project called Monster Project. I'm not sure if it's still going on. So basically they collect kids' drawings and send it to professional artists to do their own interpretation of that. So it's really fun seeing all the professional artists like taking all the shapes and interpret it. Well, I can't say that word, but just like basically do their version and see how the monster would look like in real, like rendered way. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
We have a few questions that have come in on the chat. Let me just pull that up really quick. Let's see here. Oh, and we've also got a lot of comments on creatures that people are looking at out there, like Australian spiders, and we've got some more earwig comments. Oh, and to answer your question in the chat, we are still waiting on Alex Konstad and Sunmin In. We'll see if they're able to make it with us today. So I'm just kind of keeping my eyes on our waiting room in case they come in. I'll get them right up on the stream. But let's see here. Oh, interesting. So this is an interesting question, I think, because one of the cool things about using reference is you can use one reference for anatomy and an entirely different creature for your color scheme. What would would any of you have to say about thinking of color and being creative with your designs in color with regards to creatures?
I would say think about where your creature lives and go from there. For example, and what might be a reason for it to have some bright colors or a certain pattern on its body and where on the body, and think about that. So why is it colored a certain way? Is it for blending into its environment, like in hiding? Is it to attract a mate, like, or it's saying, look at me? Is it, that can be the same thing for for babies, like, for example, female deer and some female antelope have a certain pattern on their hindquarters that helps the baby see it in certain lighting conditions. Or is it, look at me because I'm poisonous, I'm bright because I'm poisonous? I mean, there could be any number of reasons why an animal is the way it is, and so often an animal can be nondescript, so to speak, on most of its body, but there's one part of its body that is the accent.
Yeah.
So this number of things to ponder about that, I would think.
Well, and it sounds like just delving into studying animals and in the practical world what their colors are intended to do for them can give ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what about, and I know, Terrell, this is something that you've had some experience with, but I imagine anyone else who's needed to design a creature or, reference a creature who may be no longer living. For example, conceptualizing dinosaurs or incorporating, anatomy from fantastical creatures and stuff like that. What would any of you have to say about, approaching creating a creature that you may not have a lot of living reference to look at?
I would say look at what's here and what works in the real world. So if you're drawing dinosaurs, let's say you're reconstructing some of the Maniraptoran dinosaurs, which would be the dinosaurs that are in the larger avian family. I would say observe how living birds behave and look. And that can give you some clues, perhaps, into some of the dinosaurs. If you're studying or reconstructing a large Tyrannosaurus, perhaps maybe a good idea might be to look at cassowaries, because those are very large terrestrial flightless birds, and how do they behave? That might give some clues.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one of the things for me, I tend to do more character design, but what I've had fun with in creature design is most of the time characters you're looking at human anatomy to a certain extent. But with creatures, there's so many different directions you can go in. So many ideas can be generated. It's really kind of freeing.
Yeah.
Has everybody been having a good time at Lightbox thus far?
Oh, it's been very, very nice. I haven't been able to go to too much because I've had some weekend deadlines, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what's been nice about having the online platform, too, is a little bit easier to see parts of it or go here and go there. And of course, for those of you, who wouldn't be able to get to Los Angeles for an in-person Lightbox, I think it's been wonderful these last couple of years, just how many people have been able to join in.
It is. It's like you never really miss anything when it's online,
Mm-hmm.
I do miss the convention that's in person though, being able to see each other and talk and hug. I do miss that part a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. Someday.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully someday. I'll be back.
Lynn, I love the bird.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I love the bird that Lynn is drawing.
I was just going to say, as not to confuse anyone, we've got more webcams on than our streaming platform can put up on the screen with this kind of a picture-in-picture. So I'm going to be playing a little bit of musical chairs for people, kind of bringing our artists in and out so we can get some FaceTime with everybody. Okay. We've got Kipling's art and Twitch just making a playful comment saying, he said, I'm just putting it out there, but Wes's Norse god look is fantastic. So let's see. Oh, I don't even have Wes's webcam up. Here we go. Wes should be back with us in a moment. Wes, are you still with us? It looks like your webcam might have frozen. I want to make sure you didn't get bumped off the stream.
Yeah, I'm here. Does it work?
Good. No, I think your image just got frozen. It might just be a bandwidth
Oh, okay.
thing. Just want to make sure that you hadn't got booted off or anything.
No, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Bryn, I wanted to ask you, because you had mentioned that you had worked on the upcoming Ghostbusters film.
Mm-hmm.
Going into, I don't know what they had you work on or didn't work on, but I'm wondering, like, getting into like more ephemeral things like ghosts and those types of things. Are you pulling from? What do you draw inspiration from when you have to approach things like that? Because it's going to be a combo of creatures as well as other things.
Yeah, that was a really interesting and challenging project, but it was a ton of fun. So we looked a lot at texture, I think, mostly from the natural world, a lot of, material sort of composition, like what something could be made out of, that sort of thing. There were other places we went that required some anatomy, knowledge of different animals, but I can't say too much about it without it being, But yeah, it was a wide range. I was looking at anything from algae to like nudibranchs and all kinds of crazy things, and then of course anatomy diagrams of different vertebrates, and even pulling into human reference, in terms of character and face expression, that kind of thing. So it was a wide range of references we were working with. Yeah,
definitely. And I would figure the leeway that kind of subject matter gives you could probably even pull in from stuff that's might even be non-living with regards to textures and substances and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It was great. My VFX producer, Sheena, was just a joy. She would bring me all kinds of fun references every morning. Just be like, here's everything I found last night. And I was like, oh wow. So it was really cool to work with her.
I would think then, were you also providing some like conceptual visual information for possible visual effects
Yeah,
surrounding
here
some
and
of these
there
designs?
there was some ideation about like how something could, look and maybe react. But yeah, that was what I was working on for the
Cool.
most part. So lots of different references. It was a really cool project. I'm excited to see it finally release because it's been delayed twice, I think.
Yeah, a lot of projects have kind of gone through that recently.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, and it's fun that, we're finally starting to get some films again that are going straight to theater. You can actually go out to the theater and watch.
I love working on these streams because I get so like, I don't know, into what I'm doing, and then I zoom out and it's like this incredible party that's been happening I wasn't aware of.
Someone was just talking about
everything's
that.
Amazing.
On the last one. Yeah. And you're right. I think I like that analogy. It's definitely a party. And I love seeing, like, when everybody gets started at the same time, kind of like how we've done here, it sort of, it develops all at the same time. And then to see the different styles and the different thought processes and stuff, it's really, really cool. I'm just still scanning to see if our other artists are able to make it. So I know a question that often will come up in the chat for these kinds of things is when you're not working on professional art, on deadlines, or on personal projects, what other things do some of you guys like to do for fun or to kind of unwind and relax?
I have a new job, and it's I work on a goat farm.
Oh wow!
Lucky.
So I spend my mornings with goats, and then
that's amazing.
It's a lot of fun, yeah. And then I volunteer there, so the owner is a little older and needed some help, and I'm interested in owning some goats of my own. So I was like, hey, how about you teach me the ropes, and I can help you out. So we've become
that's really
friends,
cool.
It's great. So yeah, she's really sweet and very very knowledgeable. So it's been a real pleasure and a privilege really to work with the animals every day. So I get to get my little animal fix.
Where are you located that you can be?
I'm in
so close
Santa
to a goat
Fe,
farm.
Mexico.
Oh wow! Okay. That's really cool. I love it when I can do something that gets me out from behind my computer and just like outside, observing real life.
It's so nice. If you are interested in going to a goat farm in the Los Angeles area, though, there is one in Angeles Crest Forest.
Is there?
There is. It's called Angeles Crest Creamery, and you should look it up because it's a really nice. You can go take a hike with the goats, and there's even like a little cabin you can stay in, and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I'm done.
No, that's awesome.
No,
that's awesome.
I am bookmarking that for my move. Absolutely, I need stuff like that.
Steph, you gotta go. Everyone in LA needs to go. I've been there, and it's amazing. And yeah, check it out. So that's the goat report.
Well, another surprise in the LA area that I heard about, my family got a small cherry head tortoise. While we were all in quarantine, we were like, okay, it's finally time to get a pet. We've all been talking about getting a pet. So we brought this cherry head tortoise into our family, and we got in this huge tortoise jag as a family. And I haven't been able to go there because I don't think it's been open during quarantine, but I think not too far outside of the LA area is some sort of a giant tortoise habitat of sorts. So you can like go see them. So I can't wait to take the family out to see that.
Yeah, I think it's out near the Mojave Air and Space Port.
Okay.
It's out near Jawbone. So
Okay.
there's a whole
Cool.
research facility out there for desert tortoises.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew very little about, I knew so little that I didn't know the difference between a tortoise and a turtle. But when we started getting into that world, just how fascinating even just one animal or one particular breed of an animal can be.
I love to ride, and so I try to ride every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 horses. I have a schoolmaster, and I have a dressage prospect. And being with real animals and working with them and being away from the drawing board and doing something completely different is just so refreshing and lovely. And the horses have so much to teach. They both have different personalities. One's a gelding and one's a mare. The mare is the dressage prospect, and it's been so neat to see, how she's been progressing in her training and all. And the gelding is a funny little black fellow. He half Tennessee Walker and half whatever else, probably any Appaloosa and any other number of breeds. But he's been such a good instructor for me, especially with the training of the young one of Angelina. She's a off the track thoroughbred. Wow. And the gelding's name is Darth Jolly Vader. He's completely black except for one little white star, but his personality is, that's why his middle name is Jolly, because that's his personality.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Angelina's, that's the thoroughbred, her personality, she's very sweet and lovely, but her personality, if she was human, she would be Emma Thompson. So.
I understand my grandfather owned 4 horses. And I lived with my grandparents for a while, and it's so true. He had one horse in particular that was convinced they were human. So much so that the horse tried to enter the house a couple of times, like come in through the front door.
That.
Yes,
they absolutely will do that, and they can, because their lips are prehensile. They can very easily open doorknobs.
Yeah.
They let themselves out of the barn. They figure out how to open locks and latches. There you go. Yeah, they are smart animals. That's for sure.
I love that you have a horse named Darth Vader. That's fantastic.
He's just a funny little fellow. But again, he's very well trained, and I've learned any mistakes I've made on him, he's awfully forgiving. So I'm very grateful to him.
Before COVID, I used to spend time volunteering at a wildlife hospital near me, which was it was both awesome, because I'm helping things, but also incredibly distraining. It kind of gets to you after a while, just seeing so many sick things that you can't necessarily save. But I for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I mostly specialized in feeding the baby birds, because when it's baby season, it's always crazy busy. So I syringe fed hummingbirds and which are crazy tiny when they're babies, and just various indigenous species to California. And I also took care of the mouse colony they had there, because they do have to live feed birds of prey that are convalescing. So I kind of took it upon myself to make sure that the feeder mice were extremely well cared for, and just because they have a purpose, but they deserve a fair shake while they're here. So I did that for a while, but then after COVID, we had restrictions, and I kind of fell off the groove of it. And I think I also kind of just needed a break from just compassion fatigue is a very real thing. Once I settle down, and once I kind of feel more grounded, I get back into it. I miss kind of putting that positivity back into the world.
Totally. And I think there's just also something you get out of providing care for and just having an animal in your life too, because some of you guys have talked about learning from them, and I think also just that companionship. We've got an interesting question that's come up in the chat, and essentially it's talking about being very scientific and biological with regards to your reference when you're designing a creature, you're gathering those references. And then there's also the really imaginative side where you take that and you're kind of bringing imaginative design to that. And the question is about finding a balance between those two when you're coming up with ideas. Could anybody speak to that?
I think it also depends on the style of the movie. What kind of movie? If you're working on Star Wars, that's completely different than if you're working on Despicable Me.
Sure.
I think both require a different approach, and I think it's up to you as a designer to find the balance within the style or the goal of the movie.
Yeah, and I was talking with one of our artists on an earlier stream about this. Getting into stylized is, at least in my estimation, as someone who doesn't work in a lot of stylized, I think it is a whole new layer as well, because you've got to take real things that are grounded in reality and then figure out how to stylize that. What information is the most important? How do you for lack of a better term, reduce it to the kinds of elemental shapes you've got to use in your design?
Well, yes and no. I think still, even if you're working in a realistic way, you still are dealing with shapes and design as well as anatomy and making sure that things look like they're correct. I think you still have to spend time on design as well.
No, you're actually absolutely right. I hadn't quite thought of it that way, because when you're doing realism and you're designing in realism, you're not just copying one-to-one. You still are bringing a layer of design to it. I'll ask a question for myself. If I were a viewer, I would type in, Valter, do you have any advice, or anyone else would like to speak to it, for artists that are working primarily in more of a ground, like stylized, or not stylized, but a realism, like doing realistic characters for film or for games? But I've often thought, man, I would love to try to develop more stylized muscles in terms of how I can express myself and work in other styles. Do you have any advice for artists trying to make that push towards, okay, I understand anatomy and those kind of things, but now I want to try to understand how to stylize my characters?
There's a lot of things to it.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think what would be the thing that I would start with. I think maybe shapes would be a good thing. You can think of. I like to make the distinction between drawing and designing. So I can take an image of a horse, and I can almost replicate that if I look closely at where the shadows are, what the shapes are, and I can do a beautiful drawing of that horse, but I'm not designing then. And if I think of that horse as a collection of shapes, a pattern, the relationship of lines, the relationship of shapes, I can push and pull in order to create appeal within those shapes. And I think, for example, you have that exercise that I think most of us have done, where you create a random shape and you draw a face in it. What I have learned in design is that, of course, not if you are drawing in a very realistic way, but if you move away from that, if you design like that and create an interesting shape, in many cases you can fit your character within that. So like I'm doing right here, I created the shape first, which has a clear silhouette, and within that I am drawing those feet and those arms. And so that way I know that the silhouette and the gesture works before I move into the details. So
yeah, I can see, and and it's helpful advice for me. And I think I'm thinking I probably just need to be willing to try and be adventurous, and not be
that's
afraid to be a
always a good
beginner at
thing.
that. Yes, of course. You get so used to working in one way, and that, at least for me, that can feel very secure. But it's also really good to become a learner again and then start at the beginning.
Absolutely.
When I'm working on stylized characters as opposed to realistic ones, the first thing that comes to mind for me that helps me is I think of the personality of the character, and then the shapes and such seem to follow. That's just something that helps me. Is what is the personality? What is the appeal of the character? Is it an up character, like a happy, or is it a kind of an irritable or depressed character?
That's a good point.
That really helps me a whole lot.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because I think in the end it's all about storytelling. So I definitely agree. The answer I gave really was a technical answer, trying to think of technically how you would approach it. So, but I completely agree that thinking of who the character is would be, leading in making the decisions.
So okay, I took Tara's class, Schoolism class. I think what Tara was teaching, the simplified skeleton, that really helps me a lot. I think for like after that class, I started, like, when I design an animal, I will figure out a simplified skeleton, like where the spine would be, where the joints are, and that really helps me to think about the gesture, because it's simplified, it's more manageable. So I was able to draw the gesture, indicate the simplified skeleton, and then build the volume around the skeleton, if that makes sense. So in that way, I feel it gives me a lot more freedom to simplify things and exaggerating poses. So I think that's a big takeaway from Tara's class. So.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked the class.
I love it. I learned so much.
Oh,
so thank you for that.
Feel so happy.
Without giving too many spoilers on the class, obviously, because I'm now going to want to go take this class. What would I think either one of you have to say about when you talk about stylizing the skeleton? What does that mean?
Well, let's see. For me, if I'm working on a Disney or Pixar project that is dealing with exaggeration, I obviously you still have to have an anatomy to the character so it can be animated. That's the simplest thing. And when I break down the initial design to the simplest elements, and again, I'm thinking of the personality, and then I'm designing around the personality. At the same time, my brain is thinking about its simplified, as she was saying, its simplified skeleton, and I'm just adapting the proportion, the length, the height, the depth, the width, to that general shape. And you can definitely force an anatomy to fit a certain shape. I mean, within reason, of course. You can have all kinds of. I've worked on characters where just to the point where it starts to fall apart. I worked on some elephant characters once where this one particular character, and I think I even put it in one of my books. His name is Elvis, and is an Elvis Presley elephant. But I pushed it about as far as I could before it turned into a non-elephant. And you can really do that. You can. It was a lot of fun.
It sounds fun.
He still had all the joints in all the right places, but it was just about as far as they could go.
Well, you've already got my brain going on like how to utilize the ears to push some of that Elvis Presley silhouette with the hair, and one of our viewers was asking, and I know that there's lots of different ways to answer this question, but a little bit of the distinction between creatures and monsters, and is that only like a genre distinction, or could anybody who's kind of worked in both of those areas want to speak to that?
It's interesting because I had a recent conversation with the art director for my current job, and he was, for this particular job, he was very firm that these are alien creatures, but they aren't monsters. So we were calling them alien wildlife. And by doing that, you start to have a sympathy with the alien wildlife. You want a relationship with it. You start to care about them. A monster tends to be something that's menacing, that is out to get you, and that has really, that's all it exists to do, is to wreak havoc and to destroy things. Whereas an alien wildlife or an imaginary wildlife, they exist in the world. They may or may not be indifferent to you, but it's like you're in their world, and they have their own cares and their own personalities and behaviors. So whereas a monster, its purpose is to be scary and destroy, and then your reaction is, well, I want to kill you too, and that objectifies it, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that actually, I love that advice, because it helps. If you need to make that distinction, it's the idea of a creature, or as you said, wildlife. There's going to be more to them, to their sense of purpose and their connection to their environment, and they have a motivation that's not purely about scaring or destroying you. It's tied to their survival.
Right. Yeah.
That's really great. That's super helpful. Jason, I wanted to ask you, working at Riot, what are some of the, either any of the primary IPs, or what type of work are you doing specifically for Riot?
Right now, I've joined the rather new Riot Entertainment division, where we're working on non-game entertainment. So we have like a TV show coming out this fall. I didn't work on that, but I'm working on some unannounced stuff with that group.
So that'd be more like a straight up entertainment pipeline as opposed to specifically a games pipeline. Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And are you doing a lot of character work, creature work, a little bit of both, or?
A little bit of everything right now. Yeah, wearing a lot of hats at the moment.
Awesome though. Yeah, and it's funny because I've become very accustomed to, you ask artists about these kind of things. It's like you can only say so much, because I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing right now. I can talk about.
Yeah, I'm working on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, stuff that you're gonna get.
Hopefully, yeah.
Awesome. Although I actually wasn't aware that Riot was starting up an entertainment division. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was only announced I think this year, so it's been pretty hush hush for a while. But yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we're making our debut this fall.
Awesome. That's going to be really exciting. Oh, I love it. Lynn, you're now designing the fruit that this creature's reaching up for.
I think I had a little fruit drawing before, and I think
Oh,
I
okay.
accidentally delete that layer. So I'm just like, okay, let me add it
Gotcha.
back
Okay.
up.
I love
I'm so
that though,
glad.
that you're reinforcing your creature by now starting to put some design on the environment for, their motivation and what they sustain themselves with.
It's all about storytelling, right?
Wes, I'm totally digging the headband and the glasses on the center monkey. I really like where this is going.
Thanks.
Oh, that is so
Awesome.
cute.
Wes, I wanted to ask you, because I know that I think you've done a lot of work for both game and film, right?
Yeah, I've been mostly working in film the last 5 or 6 years, but yeah, lots of game stuff before that too.
Yeah, I mean, aside from I know that sometimes games you can have a little bit more runway, a little bit more time in front of you, depending on the game, and then sometimes in film, the turnarounds can be very, very quick. Aside from the timelines, what are some of the differences that you find in the types of work that you're doing for each of those streams?
It can be different between both of them. Sometimes it's really quick for one. Sometimes you have a lot of time for others. But that's not exclusive to games and film from what I've done. You can get a bit of both. Within film itself, sometimes you have it just really depends on where you're at in the timeline of it. Once something knows when it's going to start shooting, that's when things really ramp up.
Okay.
But working on something where that is still undetermined can be a lot of kind of free time, or not free time, but freedom to really explore ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes the schedules will kind of bake that in for specific things to really focus on, like main characters or certain aesthetics we'll spend a lot of time on in the front end, so that it's not going to be rushed for the shoot date.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of there's a variable on like how much of the blue sky phase you get to do on that film project. Yeah.
Totally.
And then this probably, obviously it's a limited observation because I don't see everything. It might have to do with the kind of stuff that I am seeing, but it seems like generally like concepts and designs for film often can push very much towards like almost super, super realistic looking, to the point of almost making it look photoreal. But in games, it seems like there's still a lot of very illustrative, straight up drawing and painting and that sort of a thing. Have you found that to be the case, or is it still is there still a wide berth in that regard?
It really depends on artist to artist. I'd probably get away with more illustrative work than other people that don't work the same way as I do. But I also come from that background of drawing and painting everything, and
sure.
Yeah, it depends on the project. Some directors or producers are more open to it, and others just want to see a 3D model or something photoreal.
Yeah,
and that's really where it determines whether or not like the stuff I'm doing is going to be the right fit for it, or do I need to approach a more like photographic sheen to the illustrations.
Yes.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. Yeah, Carla Ortiz was saying a similar thing on another one of our jams. They were talking about the difference of people's approach and workflow and stuff. It was in the costume drawing jam, and she was saying a similar thing. I mean, she even went to the point to say that because she loves to paint it so much, she'll take the extra time when she can to do it that way, because that is her skill set. That is what her strength is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's really starting to get colorful now. This is awesome. And I can't stop getting fixated on the monkey with the glasses and the headband. My brain is looking for the story there. Like, is that the leader, or it's just really cool. And it looks, everybody's curses are in different places, but it looks like some of these have been collaborations. Like some of you have added to another person's creature or added a little friend. But I'm having trouble figuring out who has done what. And I think that's part of the fun of it. It's really cool. Oh, someone was curious to know, Val Arts from YouTube is asking if any of you have done any sculpture, either in clay or digitally.
Yes, both.
Yes.
Yeah, I found sculpting, as a person who does more drawing and painting, sculpture has been really fun because it's got me to think about forms in a completely different way when I go back to drawing.
I got so bummed out because like I was about to take Andrea Vlasich sculpting workshop, but the whole workshop done. That was last year. So the pandemic happened, the workshop got like pushed back. I was like, damn, I really want. Ah, man. But yeah.
Are you still going to do it though?
I'd love to. I think it's getting a little bit harder for us right now just because like a lot of things happened during the pandemic and now we have a lot more responsibilities with a baby boy. So
Okay.
I might take the online version though. But it's different.
Yeah. That's a pity.
I'm sure I'll still take it at some point.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, definitely a lot of interrupted plans. But I don't know for anyone else, but for me, it's been an interesting time with as difficult and tragic as it has been. I've found that some of the limitations of like working remotely or the different ways that we have to do things has helped me develop some skills that I didn't have before, or maybe even more flexibility. I think case in point would be just the fact that I'm getting to hang out with all of you right now in Magma. I was telling the last stream that the Magma canvas that I'm sharing for the stream, I've got it on my Cintiq full screen. So it literally looks like all of you are ghosts just drawing on my Cintiq for me right now. And it's so cool.
I think too, like particularly in design and entertainment, the pandemic kind of had a silver lining because work went remotely and a lot of people like got a lot more job opportunities because suddenly studios were willing to pretty much go anywhere to work with anyone,
Yeah.
That's true.
And I do hope that continues.
Definitely. Yeah, it seems like, when I look at other industries, there does seem to be more of an inclusion now into remote work as a part of what they do. It doesn't seem like everybody is just going back to exactly how it was before all of this happened, which is cool.
feel we're all like drawing so quietly.
It's all good. I've had a few meetups myself just with friends. And there's something so nice about just drawing together with someone, and you don't really have to talk, and you're just kind of doing your thing.
That's true. This whole week, because there are a lot of online streams, so I was watching some of the streams. It's really interesting seeing artists just get into the focus mode. You hear the voice just becomes quieter and quieter,
Yes.
and then the sentence just get like not finished. So I noticed that. I did that too. I think it's just like funny. Like
Yeah, I have a friend who, because of the circumstances, has been doing a lot of their work together with other people in the art department has been via Zoom and whatnot. And she made a really cool comment. She said, "I love getting to watch other artists work." And when she said that, I thought, oh, that really makes sense. It is really cool to see someone not talking, just doing their thing, but just observing them do it. As the canvas starts to fill up, I also love how each person's work starts to interact with the other. Like I can see, it looks like one of Wes's monkeys is like going for the candle on the birthday cake. And then I can't remember who was working on the little guy holding onto the tree trunk underneath the leftmost monkey, but he's sort of looking up at those guys. I'm not quite sure if it's in terror or fascinated with them. And then the little mouse that's riding on this sort of like horned semi-ostrich, featherless, almost featherless looking chicken sort of a thing. I don't know if that's two different artists, but that's super cool. Oh, somebody just said on the chat that they think that the creature holding onto the tree trunk looking up is in shock. That's the emotion they went for on the expression. And then we're getting some love for the dino bird. Oh, someone in the UK is saying that a lot of office spaces in the UK are empty now because remote work has been so accepted. I know that a similar thing has been happening, at least in Southern California where I am. Some businesses are realizing they don't have to have the overhead of massive office spaces.
There was that moment in LA when everybody stopped driving for a month and you could see all the mountains.
Yes. I remember that.
bananas.
It was amazing. And also just how quickly nature responded. As soon as all the cars were off the road, it's like nature was like, finally.
Oh.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And you could get anywhere in 20 minutes.
Oh, I know. That was the best, too. There was like no rush hour for a while. There was like zero rush hour.
Yeah.
It felt really weird to be on the road at like 8 o'clock in the morning and not be driving 15 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then the weird thing is it seems like things have shifted now. Like there will be a rush hour that starts earlier on a Friday afternoon because sometimes people are getting out of work early. But I found that that's starting to move earlier and earlier now. Like I've been at my office in Hollywood and have tried to come back home like midday, and already there's an intense amount of traffic. have you guys found that the remoteness of our circumstances has increased possibilities for work for you or other artists that you know? Is there becoming more accessibility, or how is that working out?
Totally. I've been very lucky, and I've been kind of overwhelmed with work for the last year because mostly because of animation studios being willing to work with more people offsite. So I've been full time at a studio up until a couple of weeks ago because we wrapped on the series, but it was actually pretty seamless. Like everything that was set up remotely was really accessible and really easy. And there was talk once we were wrapping up, if we all ever get back together, we're in the studio, we'll probably do a hybrid approach or do hot desks or something, because it's very clear that it works just fine remotely.
Definitely. Yeah, and there's a real blend. I tend to kind of be an ambivert. Sometimes I like to be with everybody else while I'm working, and other times I just want to work alone. But I've got some friends that have just loved the fact that they haven't had to go anywhere and get to just focus on what they're doing. And then other friends that have struggled because they don't get to be around other people as much. So it'll be interesting to see how that hybrid approach, how things evolve as we come out of this.
Yeah, I'm a born extrovert, so it's been kind of excruciating. But I've also been freelancing for the last 6 years, so I've kind of just found a way to accept it. But I am definitely anxious just to kind of get back in house with people and just have those organic creative exchanges you have when you wander by someone's monitor and it's whoa, what are you doing? And I really miss that.
There's so much serendipity that can happen.
Totally. And there's camaraderie too, you're all working on something bigger than yourselves. And I don't know, I find that I really thrive in that kind of environment.
So last year I was working at Warner Brothers, but before that I was freelancing at home, working remotely for about 4 or 5 years. I realized myself talking when I go out for grocery shopping, I was nonstop chatting with the cashier, and then I talk with the Uber driver. I was oh, this is not healthy. I need to find somewhere in house. So finally, I would start working at Warner Brothers at the ranch facility. I was only in the office for a week before the pandemic. I was oh my god, it must be because of me.
Bummer.
I want a working house. That's why the whole world shut down.
Are you getting to be back in the office yet, or are you still working remotely?
I switch jobs. So right now I'm not with Warner Brothers anymore. So because right now I'm working with the company that's in Israel, so I'm switching remote.
Oh wow.
Back to remote. Yeah.
It'd be cool if there was a shared workspace to rent, but an affordable one, It'd be nice to have sort of a freelance workspace where you can still interact with a core group of people, and just kind of have that exchange. But it's pricey to do that, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Well, we are coming into the home stretch, guys. I think we've got about another 6 or 7 minutes before the stream is finished. And I think that all of you, I hope that you're all extremely satisfied. You guys have practically filled up the canvas. And there's so much life happening here. I love it. Let's see, someone in the chat saying they love the patterning and face detail on the, oh boy, I hope I pronounced the name of this creature correctly, Okapi/giraffe creature, and the cassowary dino's expression.
Yeah, you pronounced it correctly.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there's chameleon over here to the left. I like what's happening over here.
Huh, that's cool.
Playing off of the environment. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, the magma sessions, one of the things I love about them is they're just so playful. It's just nothing but play. And it's so cool to see a bunch of artists doing that together. And the more this fills up, like I love the branches with the fruit coming in off of the upper left-hand corner. Like we're starting to fill in some of the foreground of things. The more that happens, the more I can lower the opacity on our background, and everything's just popping beautifully. Now, does anybody here have some more talks or demos or streams or anything that you are doing for Lightbox that we can let the audience know about? Or is everybody pretty much done everything that they'll be doing up to this point?
I think this is my last.
Yeah, we're in the final day. Yeah, we're coming.
So, yeah.
We're coming to the end. Oh no, that makes me feel sad.
It went by very fast. It's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how it couldn't be, but I try to never say never, but like I can't wait for next year being able to be in person for this stuff.
Yeah, the first in-person one was such a fun show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be so great to do that again. So.
Yeah, and it was so cool is like right out the gate, it had its own vibe and its own kind of culture to the event. One of those things for me that I found to be very different than a lot of other events I've been to was just everybody was out on the floor. You know, it didn't matter who you were or, you know, whether you're one of the presenters or someone just attending. Everybody's just out on the floor walking around, and it was so delightful. Everyone was so approachable. It was just felt like this big positive energy. It was really cool.
It was a very easy show, like from an exhibitor standpoint, you know, setting up and everything, but also just interacting with people was easy because you weren't overwhelmed with crowds, so you could actually have a meaningful conversation with people and actually make that connection, you know? Wonderful.
It was the first show where I did not lose my voice. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. Like it was time well spent. I mean, you know, meaningful connections were made. Like, you're not even just like professional, just like friends, you know, new people, artists I've been dying to meet. You know, I could actually talk to them and connect. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before we finish, any of you who want to be able to save this, you just go up to the file menu, and you will either be able to just click download, which will automatically download a flat PNG. But I think each of you being on this canvas might have access to the pro version as a part of this canvas. And if that's the case, if you choose export, it'll give you an option to export a full PSD file. For anybody that wants to save what we've done here today. I know that I will definitely do that. This has been super cool. All right. Well, we just hit the 3 o'clock mark, and I want to be respectful of your guys' time too. So I'm gonna start getting ready to close out the stream. As I close out the stream, the canvas won't go anywhere, guys. So if you're in the middle of drawing or painting, like, it's not going to shut down on you. But I'd just like to say to everybody in the stream, thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for the thoughtful questions and interaction in the chat. We will be back for at least the last art jam that's happening on the Gnomon stream. Will be back at 4:30, and we will be welcoming Thomas Flirty, Stephen Silver, Jason Seiler, Seo Kim, Masaseki, Lindsay Olivares, and Bright Ackworth for a caricature drawing session. And we are going to try to get a hashtag ready for anybody that wants to, like, do a post to your social media, tag it with that hashtag, and we might be going out there and selecting some people to do caricatures of who are out there. So that should be super fun.
Cool.
So we'll see you back here at 4:30 for that. But all of you guys, everyone who's been drawing and painting on the stream here, thank you so much for hanging. Thank you for drawing and just for everything that you've done, giving your time. It's been super fun.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is definitely mine getting to hang with you guys like this. This is one of my favorite things to do. So everybody, stay creative, enjoy the rest of Lightbox Expo, and we'll say goodbye for now. Thank you.